3 minutes, we're well and good slaked. And I'm just going to mix it. Again, it's a bigger amount, so I'm gonna take a little bit more time and really focus on trying to get all those lumpy bumpies out. You want like a really nice pancake batter here. No lumps in your pancakes, nobody likes that. The grog makes it feel a little rough on your skin. So if you, again, have sensitive skin like me and you're making molds all day, this also might be a mix that you want to put gloves on for. But there's nothing in here that will hurt you. It's just a little rough and tumble. There's a trick with the grog, is the grog is going to make the plaster silica slurry feel thicker or more set than it actually is. So be patient and don't, just because it's sort of running like thick milkshake, it's still actually quite thin. There's just more material in here. So be patient. This is your last layer. There is nothing that you're going to do after this layer except clean. You're going to leave your object on your coddle until the plaster silica has gone through its full chemical transformation. So if this was like feel-o-vision, you would be able to feel that on this mold, it is radiating sort of this nice warmth. That's the plaster going through its chemical cool change situation. And I think it takes like a solid hour for it to complete, maybe even a little longer, depending on the thickness of your plaster. So, so you're gonna wait until this object is totally cool to your touch all the way around before you try to remove it from the coddle. Otherwise, the plaster silica is it's still sort of weak and crumbly, and it's a good way to like break off a chunk of your mold and undo all of your good work. The other thing I want to say while we're waiting for this to thicken up nicely is that if you've taken a break between your first and second layer and your third layer, and so you're coming back to this after an hour, after a day, you are going to want to dampen this layer before putting your third layer plaster silica grog on. So if you've waited like more than an hour, I would actually take it over to the sink and just run it under water, and it will readily absorb water. You'll even hear it do like a little sucking action, and you're going to wet it until you can see that the surface is just a little shiny. Don't go crazy and like set it in a bucket, but you want to rehydrate a mold that's been waiting around for a little while so it doesn't steal all the water from the plaster silica grog layer that you're going to put on, because that'll weaken that third layer. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Madeline agrees that that makes sense. So should I explain it in any other way?
I think it's good to know. No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I didn't know that.
So still pretty thin. What else can I tell you about mold making? You guys, I've done such a good job of cleaning as I go that maybe Madeline can just sort of pan around the table and around the mixing station and sort of see what we're looking at. So a little dust, that definitely needs to get cleaned up. A little dust on the floor, that definitely needs to get cleaned up. And then the table, you know, it's got stuff on it, but it's not so bad. And then you don't have to look at the floor by my feet, but I've done a really good job of not slopping stuff on the floor. You know what? You're not gonna be that good at this when you start. I surely wasn't. It's okay if you make a bigger mess. If you drop plaster on the floor, just leave it there, let it harden, and then scrape it up. If you drop powder on the floor, that's okay. Just leave it there and then throw a little green sweep on it and sweep it up. It's not a huge drama to make a mess. I'm just giving you some tips and tricks to how you can avoid making a bigger mess. Just know that I've been doing this for a really long time. I definitely have my 10,000 hours in this room, and I'm pretty good at it. So congratulations, you're learning from someone who knows what they're doing, but also don't beat yourself up if you don't have this sort of this sort of elegance. I don't know if I'm elegant, but the sort of ease I have with moving through the space. You'll get there. All right, so we're in, it's like still pretty thin. I'm gonna start moving some stuff onto here, but I'm definitely don't need as much material as I made. So I'm gonna throw out a bunch of it. I just need this coat to be about an inch, 3/4 of an inch around. So I'm splooging some on. Probably not the right word to use as a teacher, but you'll be all right. You're all adults.
Seems like the right word.
Yeah. Making sure that it's flowing all over. Boop, boop, boop. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna pour the rest of this. I'm gonna pour maybe like half of the bucket onto the table and then throw the rest out because I know I don't need it. So I'm just gonna add a little over here. And then I can grab from that little puddle if I think I need more than what's on my coddle. And then I'm just gonna toss the rest and clean my bucket. I will once again reinforce that it is so much easier to clean a bucket when the material in here is still wet and like a slurry. Otherwise it thickens and it cracks and you have to really scrape it out. That's a real bummer. So I'm gonna clean the sides because I splashed them on the sides. When Kayla and Sherry and I are in here with you, we will also help you with the cleaning part. So you don't have to rush around quite so much as you're sort of getting your mold making cadence. But so Vaseline did its magical job. So this is pretty clean and I'm just gonna pop it in the sink for its final rinse. And now I can sort of see that this is still really not moving very much. So I'm just gonna let it go here and I can start to scrape it up a little bit more. I'm not even sure I'm gonna need what's on the table, but I have it if I want it.
Now it's more like a malt milkshake.
Yeah, malted milkshake or like a Oreo cookie milkshake.
Yeah.
Whoever invented Oreo cookies really has my heart. Good job, Oreo cookie inventor. Was it a Keebler elf?
I don't think so.
No. Was it a person?
I don't know.
Human person?
I know they're vegan.
What?
Yeah. Because they're not made with any real dairy.
Or real food, maybe.
So there you go.
So I definitely like to do this layer with my scraping tool because the grog is like not so delicious on my hands. But I do kind of like the sound that it makes. Scrape, slip, scrape, slip, scrape, slip. I'll start a band called the Mold Makers, and no one will come to my concerts. So adding a little extra on top to make sure that I'm not too thin up here. And then you can see that it's really this sort of stunning sculptural material now. I need to add just a little bit more around. I'm not quite to my Sharpie line on this side, so I think it might be a little thin over here, so I'm just gonna add a little bit more. If your molds come out a little uneven, don't worry, it's okay. And then I'm trying not to let like the bottom sag out too much. So as it's setting up, I'm sort of scraping up and then scraping all around. And it's nice when the outside of this layer is pretty tidy, but don't go insane. And I can hear I can like hear and feel that the material is thin over here, so I'm gonna add a little bit more. Oops. Got a little bit of a saggy butt situation, so I'm gonna scrape some up and then continue. Am I out of view? Did
No,
I
you're
switch
good.
over too much?
Yeah, looks nice.
Yeah, so that's pretty good. And so now I have this sort of rough top situation. So I'm gonna add just a little bit more than I need actually. And then I'm going to make a flat spot. This is the part that it sits on the mold, sorry, that it sits on the kiln shelf in the kiln. So I just wanna give it like a nice stable area for it to sit on. If you can make it sort of flat and parallel to the ground, that is the best. But feel free to sort of add and remove in service of just making it flat. You don't need a huge amount of like thickness up there.
If you put too much, is it detrimental?
No, because we're gonna fire on like really generous kiln cycles. We're not gonna, it's gonna be sort of a catch-all kiln cycle for lots of different shapes of objects, so it should be fine. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think for this class, a little thicker is a little better than too thin. I'd rather you guys protect your objects by creating like a more robust cavalry of mold material. And then if you can sort of move your, no, you're good, sorry. So move your body or move your mold, just get level to it and sort of make sure that it's flat-ish. That you haven't like gone at a crazy angle or that it's not really rounded, because that'll also make loading the kilns a bit easier. So I'm going across in both directions, and I find that sort of hatching helps. And then I'm just gonna look around and sort of run my fingers along it just to pull off any sort of sharp little edges, because those are gonna wanna tend to break. And then we're done. That is a done mold. It is definitely like big and thick, maybe thicker than it needs to be, but a really good example for beginners. So you do not have to watch the cleanup because you know what happens, because we've done it a bunch in class with different stuff. Just know I'm going to clean the mold as best I can, and then let the, clean the coddle as best I can, and then let it chill for about an hour before I pop it off. And then the rest is gonna get cleaned up by our usual cleaning procedures. That is how you make a mold on your waxes. This is the first step to making a lost wax glass object. See you later. Woo!